Good evening and welcome everyone to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Tuesday, the 28th of September, 2021, and Joe and Joe Weather Show, as it is every night, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, as they get the salt in and put your order in early if you need rock salt, especially you guys that are into to do snow removal for a business. It's going to be tough to get as we go into the winter months with all these bottlenecks going on, and prices are high, but Omni does have the lowest prices in the tri-state area of New York City, and people come from a long ways away to go to Omni to get the salt. Also, plenty of Pelleto and Mag Ice pellets and flakes, and anything else you need to get you through the winter. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, 631-756-1125. And the website is omnitruevalue.com. And the garland is in at Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. You contractors, don't forget, there's an open house on Tuesday, October the 5th from 9 to 6 p.m. So that's a week from today, I believe. And they're at 164 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst. You can RSVP by calling them at 631-957-5106 or head over to the website, which is liholidaylighting.com. And not just Christmas, but Halloween stuff too, although Halloween is pretty much on our doorstep now. But we're doing the countdown, Joe Rayo, to Christmas. It'll be here before you know it. I mean, this
Absolutely true.
This month flew. Wait, hold on a second. Whoops. I've been disconnected. Now you can talk to me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I hear you fine.
Okay.
Somehow,
and everybody else hear me. I hope they can. So.
Hey, your levels are dancing away there on the screen. So
Okay,
yeah,
well,
I
great.
mean, Christmas is, what is it now? 87 days away, something like that. 86.
I haven't gotten a correct count.
2, 31, 33, 30, 63, and 25. 88.
88. WCBS
Yes.
News Time at News Radio 88.
You know, somebody asked me, when did that happen today? Somebody asked me what time it was, and I almost did that. I was going to go, WCBS News Time is 3, but I took a step back.
My wife, my dear, loving, sweet wife, who all of you have fallen in love with over recent weeks and months here on the Joe and Joe Show, he just absolutely gets.
Oh, when you do
that, she said, "What time is it? What time is it now?"
WCBS News Time.
WCBS News Time.
I used to do the same thing.
And sometimes I'll really drive her crazy. We'll come up to the top of the hour and I'll say, "Set your time to WCBS. 4 tones will follow.
The final loudest one marks the exact time. Boom.
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 Boom. Boom.
You have to take it up a key. Boom. Oh, good Lord. All right, so here we are on a Tuesday night. We have a new viewer on, David Venable from, well, actually probably not that far from me. He's asking about Nashville, Tennessee, which is, I think it's about 5 hours from where I am, but no matter. So we, as I said, answered these questions on the chat because he wanted to know the exact snowfall for Nashville this winter. And Joe, you know me, how incredibly precise and accurate I am to be able to predict snowfalls for random cities at the drop of a hat. So, I told him not a, 16 point, I think what I say, 16.2 inches, no more, no less, including an 8-inch snowstorm. But in all seriousness, we don't do that sort of thing here, and we don't do winter forecasts. We don't do seasonal forecasts. We might openly speculate about certain things, but we don't go down that particular road. Frankly, I don't see the value in it. I don't understand it. No one's going to get it right. And whenever somebody asks that question, it's always a snow lover, so you know the answer they want to hear, which is, cold for 6 months from October 1st to the end of April. Actually, that's what? Oh, November, December, January. That's 7 months. It goes below freezing on October 1st. It never gets above freezing until April 30th, and it snows every single day. That's the answer that they want. Anything less, they will not be satisfied. So, that kind of sums it up.
I've said it before. All of these predictions are always very closely scrutinized from late August through September into early October. And then when we actually get to the end of the winter season, nobody remembers what the predictions were anymore. They don't care. And you know why they don't care? They just want winter to get out of here so they can get into spring and the warmer temperatures. No one ever remembers. The only ones who remind you, let's say, are the almanacs who say, "How did we do last year?" And they tell you, and they'll tell you by highlighting all the things that they hit, and the things that they didn't hit. Well, we'll deal with that later.
Here's a deeper question, because I'll get that. Well, the almanac said this, and the almanac said that, and the almanac was right about this and right about that, and on and on. So why are you asking me? I mean, at the end of the day, if the almanac is so good, or wherever your source is so good, why are you asking me?
Right.
You know how I feel about shopping, okay? And you know how I feel about forecast shopping. And that's exactly what people do. They just forecast shop until they hear what until they hear what they want to hear, and then you say to them what they want to hear. So I've just said it.
Right.
It's starting Friday. It goes below 32, and it never gets above freezing until April 30th. No matter where you're located, by the way, you could be in you could be in Chickasaw Falls, Michigan. You could be in Bedford, Tennessee. You could
Bedford, Tennessee.
Right. You could be in beautiful downtown Sheboygan, as opposed to beautiful uptown Sheboygan. You could be in Miami, Florida. It all applies to everybody across the board. End of sentence. So anyway,
there you go.
You can see what kind of mood I'm in. I roasted some Honey Nut Cheerios with almonds and walnuts in the oven, and I was snacking on those before the show started. So I love autumn. It's my favorite time of year. The weather can be so beautiful, as you pointed out the other day. It's a month where you usually have an exceptional number of clear sky type days. The only downside is for you and I is that we are going to get into these stretches here where there just isn't going to be too much to talk about.
And we have a low number of people. I mean, like we have 70 people watching right now. And we know that when we get into some active weather, and we will, I'm sure between now and the end of this year, we'll have a few bouts of activity to talk about, that we'll see those numbers go sky high. And that's when everybody will run to us, because they know that this is the place that you need to come to when you need to know everything about active weather, weather that may very well provide your area. Hey, I like that. Your zone.
You're pointing. You're pointing,
Yes.
Mr. Rayo.
It's not polite to point, so
it's not polite to point, Mr. Rayo.
Yes, exactly.
So we had our little round. We had some downpours and a couple of thunderstorms roll through, and they came in. Actually, there was stuff around a little after daybreak this morning. which ran out ahead, and we sort of pointed that out yesterday. And then we had the front push through, fire up some downpours and thunderstorms, and the Storm Prediction Center upped the risk to slight risk. I didn't really look straight through, so I could be wrong. I didn't notice any severe weather warnings that went up. I don't know if you caught any, if you saw any anywhere. I didn't really see anything.
I didn't catch anything. But I will say that it was rather unusual. The morning, early today, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, rain coming on down very hard, rumbles of thunder, a couple of flashes of lightning. I mean, this is before noontime, and we did it without any. Well, actually, I'm going to say without any sunshine. Actually, I did get a glimpse of the sun around 8 o'clock or so this morning. So maybe there's a little bit of heating to get that going. But yeah, we had almost 2/3 of an inch of rain today here in Putnam Valley, Joe, 0.62 to be exact. And it appears right now, looking at the latest radar, that it's all but over. And now we look forward to a stretch of dry weather, probably taking us through the end of the week. And it'll be interesting to know what you think about Sunday and Monday, because some forecasts I've seen are keeping the weekend dry, although I now think that there may be later in the day on Sunday a little bit of precipitation coming into play.
Just a smidge. Just a smidge.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I will give you my never to be humble opinion shortly. I went to Tornado HQ, and there actually is a working severe thunderstorm warning in South Jersey, in Newcastle, Gloucester, Salem, and Newcastle County in Delaware. Okay. Gloucester and Salem counties in New Jersey, and Delaware County in Pennsylvania. That's the only one I see, and there were a bunch of them down in Virginia, including Culpeper, Virginia. Have you ever been to Culpeper, Virginia? I
have never been.
I actually stayed in a hotel in Culpeper, Virginia. I'm just checking out.
Really?
Yeah, it's very exciting. I slept. I was on one of my drives down south, and I just it was one of those times that Bill Rogers will be happy. That was the one time I actually did stop. And I stayed at one of those country inn places. It's actually quite nice. And it was cheap too. I didn't have I walked in there at about 1:15, so they were happy enough to rent an extra, give me an extra room that otherwise would have gone empty. So anyway, so much for my past shenanigans. That's the lone severe thunderstorm warning that is up at the moment. Just kind of give a quick glance at the radar. That's like a renegade cell that formed in southeastern Pennsylvania, kind of on the odd side, really. And you can see it. Well, the radar jumped here. Let me get back to it. But you see it there, just about crossing the Delaware River out of Delaware County and getting ready to move into Salem and Gloucester counties. There's some showers that were in southeastern New England. These were over eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England earlier. Now that's kind of moved on out. And I don't know, Joe, I think this is it through Saturday. We have no weather issues for the next 4 days, other than the fact that with the deep trough in the east, there's probably going to be like little ripples that move north to south in that strong northerly flow. And I suppose anytime one of those goes by, it might produce some instability clouds. But other than that, I really don't see much happening between now and Saturday.
No, I agree with you. And in fact, we should have severe, clear weather for Friday and Saturday. Saturday looks like a beautiful day out there with temperatures in the 60s and the low temperatures at night. Darn, I might say that we, at least here in Putnam Valley, where we have yet to get any lower than 50 degrees, I think we'll have a few cool nights coming up with readings mostly in the 40s. Delightfully, comfortably cool, clear conditions coming our way after we get rid of the last of the scuddy clouds in our sky that we have out there right now.
Yeah, John Charles was to say that earlier there was some severe weather warnings in and around the Boston area. Let me see how far back. Virginia, Texas, Oklahoma, Texas. All right, it had to have been more than 4 hours ago because it's as far back as I can go here on the stuff that's on the severe weather review for the day. So anyway, we also have at the moment some heavy rains along the Gulf Coast from the land of Addison Green in Houston to the land of Bob Breck in New Orleans. Some heavy downpours there, and also some rather strong thunderstorms approaching the Dallas-Fort Worth area right now on the radar and points westward. Showers from New Mexico scattered up the Rockies through Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana, and still getting some shower activity in the Pacific Northwest. The radar was far more active yesterday in the Pacific Northwest than it is today. And just a little bit of activity up in western New York. It looks like some with the wind off the lakes, getting a couple of light rain showers coming in off of Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, and that's a sign of things to come. I don't think, when I saw the satellite, Johnny Quest, looking at the blowup of clouds right along the immediate Gulf Coast, I mean, whatever that's probably an upper trough, and most of it is over land. So, I mean, the whole thing would have to probably drop down into the Gulf of Mexico. But what I will say is, over the longer term, I think we're going to see something come out of the Caribbean in a little over maybe a week's time or in the next week to 10 days. I think we're going to see something try to come out of the Caribbean and move up northward. So we'll see if that may be part of the process, what's going on in the Gulf of Mexico right now to set up what's going to be happening down the road. But for now, I don't think that's anything that's going to become tropical. So if it's a cold upper trough, it probably won't be able to do anything. They need a lot of time to warm up, and it gets a little tougher as we get into the end of September and start to move through the month of October. The WPC folks, Mr. Rayo, as far as rainfall is concerned, trying to update this map. Oddly enough, they have they actually have more rain. They have more in upstate New York in the Catskills than they do to the south, which kind of surprises me a little bit. But they're, kind of putting in a quarter to a half an inch here. And you can see some heavier rains in western PA down through the central Appalachians and into eastern Tennessee, but nothing to write home about. Still seeing big rains in Texas and through the southern and central plains on the order of up to several inches in some places. And then also in the New Pacific Northwest, in the western part of Washington state, with some heavy rains there. But it seems to be confined there because there's that large area from Idaho and central Montana, Idaho, down through Nevada, California, and most of Oregon, where not a drop of rain is forecast for the next 7. It's autumn and it's October, so it's a quiet time.
Well, that's I mean, we noted that October is in the eastern third of the country the clearest time of the year, and it's ironic that we say that because once we cross over from October into November, everything goes south really fast in terms of sky conditions and in terms of, let's say, precipitation, and you could even perhaps have some snow in parts of our area by November. Sometimes we've even seen it as early as late October. But, as nice as October can be with Indian summer and everything, weather changes on a dime by the time we get to November. And that makes a bit of sense because by November the 5th, we're right in the middle of the autumn season. And then after that, we just start trending down toward wintry conditions. What else can I say?
Yep. Paul Roman hit Super Chat tonight. Thank you, Paul. He hit it before the show started. He's busy moderating the show tonight, so everybody, be on your toes. Mr. Roman, he hits he hits that hide button pretty quick. We call him Trigger Roman. and we love them to death. Big hugs, Paul. Thanks for the super chat hit. All right, let's take a look at what's going on, because severe weather-wise, there's no severe weather forecast from SPC for the next 7 days, so we can put that to bed. In the meantime, the tropical weather outlook for the Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico has been updated now, so let's see what they're doing. Couple of changes to be noted. First off, we have our forever, here's the thing. am I on the 5-day? Yeah, so this is on the 5-day. Wait a minute. What did they do here? So I think they made a boo-boo here, Joe. Take a look. So here's the 5-day forecast, right? So they've got this lead area that's out there in orange on the box, but red on the map. And then they got the red one, the orange one, but they read the statement, and the statement is right. In other words, they got it backwards.
I don't think any of us are seeing the maps, though, Joe.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Well, I'm sparing you the embarrassment of NHC here. Hang on 1 second. They've been so busy, so I'm sure they're glued. I'm sure they're glued to this show right now. So, fellas, I think you got this backwards here, because you got the lead disturbance colored red, which is supposed to be 70%, but you've got 60% probabilities, and then the one behind it is where you have colored in orange, and you have 90% probabilities. So anyhow, either way, one or two of them one or both of them is going to develop. But oftentimes, whenever they get to a point where they put something that's going to develop and they make it sound like it's imminent, in other words, when they go to that 70% or higher, and 2 or 3 days pass by and nothing happens, that's usually a sign that the thing is probably not going to develop, or if it is, it's going to be, it's going to take a long time to get there. So perhaps, I haven't really looked too closely at the satellites here with respect to what's going on out there. Meanwhile, Hurricane Sam is on the latest advisory, which has an H on it at the end, by the way. 17.9, 55 west, top winds 130 miles an hour, so it's still a Category 4 hurricane, moving northwest at 9, still forecast to pass east of Bermuda, and then move northeast from there. Now, you mentioned about Sunday, Joe. So I will tell you my opinion on Sunday. It actually, a lot's going to depend on Sam as far as Sunday is concerned. One of the things that's been happening is that the GFS has been flipping from run to run as to whether Sam gets wrapped up in this deep upper low that's sitting over New Brunswick. And you can see it here. Sam gets, kind of slingshotted around, and the overnight runs were kicking it out to the northeast. The new run, the latest run, the 12Z run, I didn't look at the 18Z yet. The 12Z run slingshotted it back to the northwest and merged it with the upper low. Now, if that happens, that keeps the flow in New England down into the northern mid-Atlantic states, keeps the upper flow to the north. So I think that would suggest to me that there would be far less room for any rain to move up the coast, to move northeastward out of that mess that's down in the southern plains. But on the other hand, if it does get kicked out to the northeast, that upper low over New Brunswick is going to pull away a bit to the northeast, and that might allow room for some rain. So that's really what it boils down to. What is Sam going to do? So indirectly, for us to have a decent Sunday, Joe, it has to go smashing into Newfoundland, and I don't think we wanted to do that. So,
well, they already had one.
Although I know Sal
right?
Blandino's,
or they had two,
right? But I know Sal Blandino's out there waving his cheerleading pom pom, saying, let it go into Newfoundland so I can have a sunny day on Sunday.
Poor Sal. I'm still wondering whatever happened to Mr.
Reuben Fairchild.
Maybe whatever happened to Mr. Fairchild.
Maybe he's back at school, because he was only in his low 20s, except in the teens in the normally colder inland places. Oh,
Well,
good Lord. So let's take a look. I got the 18Z. I'm already seeing a wrapped up animal cutoff in the Ohio Valley. What is this? Look at this. Oh, please. Can we stop with this from run to run? It's like, ever since this NAO went negative, Joe, it's as if the models have just decided that they just can't handle it. And it's like every run is another adventure. Now we're back to, where did this big upper low come from? So let's see what's happened. What's the Sunday thing? So Sam gets
all bow down to the great guard, Nao.
yes, yes, Anyak,
Yeah.
the great Anyak from Lost in Space. That
The
was
pain.
right. That's when Jonathan Harris's Dr. Zachary Smith uh, became like part of like I don't even know how to describe it. All I know is that he was wearing gold lame from top to bottom, and it didn't really suit him. Anyhow,
the only thing more ridiculous was the one where he was a carrot.
yes. Anyhow, here Sam on the latest run gets kicked out. Doesn't even get anywhere close to Newfoundland on this run. But you can see what happens. That upper low starts to move away to the northeast, so that perhaps opens a door for some rain on Sunday. But again, we keep seeing these sort of flips back and forth on this. Although the other models tend to support the idea that this thing will get kicked out to the northeast. And then suddenly you get all this height fall back in the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley, and you've got this wrapped up cutoff, Joe, sitting probably in northern Illinois somewhere in a southerly flow along the East Coast. This will be for the middle part of next week. Now, the question is, do we have anything tropical in the vicinity therein? Because there is, lower than normal heights and pressures in the Gulf of Mexico. Let me just run this through here. I'm just seeing. Then it finally eventually just opens up and pulls out. You get deep troughing that drops down into the west, and then another cutoff forms off the southeast coast around the middle of the month. All right, well, you know what? That's all fiction anyway, so why even bother? So let's go take a look at what the surface maps have to say. This is the problem this time of year, folks. It's like a real stretch sometimes when 3/4 of the country is really not seeing much of any weather. Not that we sit here and cheerlead for weather, but it's a hell of a lot easier to do a weather show when you've got weather going on than when you don't. And there'll be some wise guy out there who'll say, "Well, you know what? When it's sunny, that's weather." Yeah, we know. Okay, we know that.
I remember getting a letter. This is when I was on radio from some woman who got very upset about the fact that I was, saying, "Well, here we are, another rainy day, and there's the clouds, and it's cool out there," and the letter was like along the lines of, rain is very good and very beneficial in many ways, and I'm getting tired of hearing you say, run it down. Well, we need the rain.
You could have forwarded the letter to Sal Blandino.
Yeah. If I knew Sal, at that time, I would have given it.
Yeah, he'd have taken care of her for you. Yeah. Anyhow,
yes.
The latest GFS now brings a whole ton of rain here on Sunday. Sunday morning in the afternoon. Again, if you don't have anything going into Nova Scotia, if you don't have anything going into Newfoundland to re-strengthen that upper low and keep the flow northerly along the East Coast, it opens it up for precip to get in here, and that's what happens. It's actually in through at least part of Monday, and there is a low that develops. There's some kind of low that comes out of the northwest Caribbean and moves up just right along the Florida East Coast, but doesn't really develop. But there's like all this tropical moisture that shoots up northward up the East Coast on the east side of that upper low, Joe, for the latter part of next week. So I don't know. We'll have to see how this plays out. But then it does seem as if the nice 4 days that we're having, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the eastern part of the United States, there's going to be some changes as we head into next week if these models are correct.
Yeah, well, what else is new? Dear me. Hey, look, you're gonna have a nice stretch of weather for the next few days. Get out and enjoy it. Try not even think, what may be lurking on the horizon for maybe Sunday into Monday of next week.
Ooh, ooh.
Just go out and enjoy it.
Ooh, look,
yes,
look on
yes,
this.
Horseshack.
Yeah, on days 11 and 12, Joe, we've got snow in Montana and in North Dakota too. Look at that. Oh, look at this. Starting to see some blue on the map. Let the snow lovers know that the rain snow line is going to be somewhere near James Bay on the 378 hour. They might want to plan a trip up there. Are you with?
So people will start. People will start, making reservations for I don't know, Butte, Montana, or maybe someplace in the Dakotas. I've got to see the snow before, I want to be among the first to. In fact, I remember I was at an NWA conference, National Weather Association conference in Salt Lake City, and this was October, and there was a forecast of significant snow in the mountains, and there were people at the convention actually gathered around listening. And you know what? In retrospect, I remember Jim Cantori was part of this group. He was trying to get a bunch of people together so they can go up into the mountains in Utah, so they can all look and enjoy the snow. So some people just can't get enough of the white stuff.
You know what? There is something about it. There is something about it that I always find very peaceful. There's nothing like the waking up after it snowed all night and it just ends right around daybreak and the dawn, the dawn breaking and fresh snow cover. There's just sort of this quiet. It's so peaceful. I don't know how else to put it. It's a very, very peaceful experience, and I truly enjoy it.
I remember there was a major. This goes back now when I was in college, and I don't know if you had one of your professors was Professor Denny Weiss, who eventually became the chair of the science department at City College. And I had one of his classes. He was very big into memorizing flow charts. Well, he lived in Monroe, New York. That was up in Orange County. And the night before, there was a significant storm. And while, at that time I was living in the Bronx, we had only maybe a few inches, and school was open, college was open, but we all were saying, I just heard on the radio, Monroe got like 12 inches of snow. Maybe he can't make it into work. Maybe he won't be able to give us the big exam. And we're all, gathered in the weather center and coming up, and we're looking at the clock, and it's, just 2 minutes before the class is supposed to begin. He's not here yet. And then all of a sudden, like 30 seconds before 10 o'clock, look who comes in, like partially covered in snow. Well, are you ready for the test?
By the way, they had some, speaking of snow, they did have some snow. I saw Alfred Phillips on from the North Slope of Alaska, one of our regulars. Hi, Alfred. Hope all is great. He says it's 22 where he is, up in Wainwright, with a wind chill of 15. I saw that parts of Anchorage got over a foot, but there was like it was funny because I was reading some of the snowfall reports, and it was, say for some reason, somewhere between 5 miles southeast of Anchorage and 10 miles southeast of Anchorage, there was a reporting station that was 7 miles southeast of Anchorage. I believe it was the 7 miles, and they had 15 inches. But everybody else around them, like 5 miles, 9 miles, 3 miles, only about 2 or 3. So I don't know what that was. And they made a point, it wasn't the only one that got a double-digit snowfall, but it's snowing in Alaska. And when you had that CPC map up the other day, Joe, I noticed that for for the 8 to 14 day outlook or whatever was 6 to 10 or the 8 to 14. They had Alaska with below normal temperatures. So
Right.
I guess that is playing
I've
out
been
to an extent.
I have been to Alaska, and I totally agree with the late great painter who can still be seen now on PBS stations, Bob Ross. He of the Pretty Little Tree and Peapod the squirrel and everything. But whenever he lived in Alaska for a while. He lived in Florida, and then he said, I had to go to Alaska, and I was told I had to go there by my favorite uncle, Uncle Sam. He said, Uncle Sam said, I think you ought to go to Alaska, and if you don't go, you're going to jail. He said, but I fell in love with a crazy place, and he said, God had a great day. God was having a great day when he made Alaska. And I have to tell you, having been there and having gone to Anchorage and having actually traveled north of Anchorage up into the high, mountain areas, a beautiful country, spectacular country. So yeah, if you ever get a chance to go to Alaska, you will have a great time. Especially, I'm not talking about Juneau, which is like right along the Pacific coast. I'm talking about the real Alaska,
Right.
Anchorage and Fairbanks. I mean, that is beautiful, beautiful country. And again, you have to get up there and see it for yourself. And you too, Joe. This is after you finally get around to going to Newfoundland, then you can go. You should go to Alaska.
Yeah, it's on my list of places to go. All right, let's do it. Let's get Briller Jeopardy done. The chair, Robert Russo. Did I mention Robert Russo hitting super chat? If I didn't, I'm mentioning it now. Robert Russo hitting super chat. Thank you, Mr. Robert. Most appreciated as always. One of our regular loyal viewers, Mr. Russo. Okay, so let's do a little Briller Jeopardy because there just isn't much to talk about.
Right. All right. Well, last night, if you remember, yours truly was faced with the conundrum of trying to list all of the storms that have had their names, all the hurricane or tropical cyclones that have had their name retired, starting with the letter A. And tonight, Joe, it's your turn on Briller Jeopardy for tropical systems in the Atlantic that have been retired with the letter starting with B.
B.
And this is, and you're easy because I had to name 7 last night for A. There are only 3 storms.
3?
With two to pass. There are only 3 B storms that have had their name retired.
Right. Well, one I know off the bat, because I actually spent a lot of time years ago researching this, was Hurricane Beulah. I believe, if I remember correctly, that Hurricane Beulah. What was odd about Hurricane Beulah was when you look at its life cycle, was it crossed the it crossed the entire Caribbean, moved through the Yucatan Channel, and then went to the Texas coast and made a landfall along the Texas coast. But what made it unusual was Beulah was a Category 3 hurricane when it entered the Eastern Caribbean, and by the time it got to the Western Caribbean, it was down to an open wave, and then it re-strengthened. Now, the unusual part about that is because it's usually in reverse. Usually, these systems come in when they get into the Eastern Caribbean. 9 times out of 10, conditions there are unfavorable for development, and you have to wait for it to get into the Western Caribbean, where conditions are more climatologically favorable for development. So Beulah, and I believe, was it 19? I want to say 1967.
1967, right on the nose.
Okay. Now the next 2, if you said there's only 3, I'm going to need a little.
Yes.
I'm going to need a little help with this because I can't seem to remember any B storms that were retired. So you got to throw me a hint of some sort. Oh, wait a minute. I can get. Oh, wait. Oh. Forget. One just came to me. Betsy. Hurricane
Bessie or Betsy?
Betsy.
Betsy.
Yes.
Right.
That went into took a track very similar to Katrina, where it went. It was actually in the Bahamas, and it looked like it was going to move out to the northeast, and it came to a grinding halt, and then turned southwestward, moved across South Florida, came out in the Gulf of Mexico, and then made a beeline for New Orleans. And for years, Betsy was the signature generational storm that when you talk to people in southeast Louisiana, they would say, "Oh, well, Hurricane Betsy. Now that was a hurricane, and that flooded out New Orleans. There was 10 feet of water in the downtown area. So it wasn't until 2005 that Katrina became the new generational, the new one.
The new
and
generational benchmark.
Betsy was 65.
1965, right on the nose.
Okay, so that's 2. Now,
by the way, Beulah. Getting back to Beulah for a second.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember the game show Truth or Consequences,
right,
which was hosted, believe it or not, by Bob Barker. Everybody thinks of Bob Barker, Price is Right. But before that, he was a host on a show that was that lasted from the late 50s into the early 70s. Truth or Consequences. You had to tell the truth, or else you would have to suffer the consequences. That was the name of the game. But he would ask you a question or a riddle, and if you didn't get the riddle, if you didn't get the answer correctly, you would get buzzed by Beulah the Buzzard.
Right.
Remember Beulah the Buzzard?
Right. And every once in a while, somebody would get the answer correct, and he'd have to ask another question. I remember there was one time where the person got it correct like 3 times, and they had to go to a 4th question. And when he would ask the question, as soon as he would finish it, barely a second would pass, and then he would hear, "Nah, time's up."
Yes, and here you go.
Yeah. All right, so we got Beulah and Betsy. Is the third?
All right, enough Beulah, enough.
Right.
The third one.
The
third one was a surprise.
I'm sorry. The third one is it a boy name or a girl name?
It's a boy name, but it's a surprise to me that they retired this storm name.
Okay.
I'll give you a hint. When we had the alternating names, boy, girl.
Right.
This was the first boy name, which after a few cycles eventually got retired.
The first boy name.
The first male name of tropical systems. I think it was 1970. Was it 79 or 78? 79. All right.
Well, it wasn't Barry, was it?
No.
No. Okay.
He visited. Let's put another point. Another hand. This guy came close to visiting your old stomping grounds, Joe.
It was a bee storm.
Yes.
Well, which old stomping grounds? New Orleans or Corpus Christi?
No. Center Reach.
Oh. Well, it can't be Hurricane Bob because that was in 91.
Well, according to
it was Bob
the chairman,
it was retired. Bob was retired.
This is why I say I can't believe this last one. I can't believe they actually retired Bob. I mean, Bob. What did Bob do that was so worthy of it to get retired?
Well, it did do a lot of damage. That was still at a time where the News 12 was covering Long Island and no one else was. There actually was a fair amount of wind damage on the eastern part of the island, but it was Block Island got hit very hard with that. Block Island took a big hit with Hurricane Bob. So perhaps the damage in southeastern New England was what put it over the top. One of the unusual things about Bob that I remember was the fact that the ocean water temperatures that year were really warm. We had 80-degree water temperatures offshore, and Bob's pressure was around 9:48 at when it was off, just skimming along the south shore of Long Island, and it was very unusual to see a storm that intense that far north. But it did happen, and for whatever reason, the ocean water temperatures that year were really over the top.
Well, I think New York had something like, the record is 39. And I think in 1991, they had something like 33 or 34 90-degree days.
Yeah, that was a hot summer.
Yeah.
That was definitely a hot summer. So, okay, so Hurricane Bob. So Beulah, Bob, and Betsy.
Yes.
All right, very good. So I guess the next letter is C.
C, senor.
Yeah, so that'll be probably for tomorrow. So, all right. I was real quick. I was just looking at the satellite from where is it? I hope I didn't just accidentally. I'm just looking at the satellite here. I'll bring it back up on the full screen for everybody for Hurricane Sam and the. Hang on, just trying to get my switching capabilities here. So here's Sam on the floater, moving northwestward. The eye well, on the enhancement, it looks like it's pretty well defined. It looks like the eye has actually gotten a little bigger in terms of the diameter. It could be in the process of over the next several days, we're probably going to see the gales expand a little bit as it gets further north, but it still hasn't even made 20 degrees north yet. I feel like we've been just watching this, almost walking across the Atlantic here, Joe. It's just taken forever. But I don't know. The storm seems to be a little bit elongated east-west on the loop. It could be undergoing another one of these eye wall replacement cycles. It did strengthen a bit off of what happened yesterday, and it's been kind of holding its own all day as a Cat 4, and that was what the Hurricane Center mentioned in their advisory. So I'm kind of at the point. I mean, to be frank, I kind of just like, can we get this to just go away already? I feel like we've been talking about it for 10 days because we have been talking about it for 10 days.
Incidentally, I stand corrected. 1991 is tied with 1993 at Central Park for the most number of days at or above 90. 39 days that year of 91. That was certainly a hot summer. The normal, by the way, the average number of 90-degree days at Central Park, just to give you an idea of how hot that year was, the normal is 17. And in 91, they had 39 days at or above 90 degrees. And one of the other interesting points, Joe, about heat is that you could have a lot of 90-degree days in the summertime, but if they're spread out, like typically the window of days between the first and last 90-degree day at Central Park is 89, almost 3 months. But there have been some years where, for example, 1999, I remember that was a very hot summer, but they only had 27 90-degree days, but it was jammed into a window of only 60 days. So you think about that, almost half of those 60 days were 90-degree days. And it was like a 45% concentration of 90-degree days, as opposed to the normal of only 19% in an average year. So in 91, they had 39 90-degree days at Central Park, but that was spread out over 163 days, almost a half a year.
Yeah.
From the first 90-degree day to the last 90-degree day. So it was not, the way it was, let's say in 99, where they had fewer 90-degree days, but it was all like concentrated into, one big lump, so to speak. So, but I remember 91. 91 was a hottie. 91 was a real hot year overall.
By the way, this is typhoon.
And that's what we had off.
Yeah, this is typhoon Mindule, Mindulle, a Category 3 typhoon out in the Western Pacific. And I'll bring up you can find these, by the way, if you go to current storms on tropicaltidbits.com. And this one looks like it's going to be passing offshore of Japan, turning northward and then northeastward, passing. It looks like just far enough offshore where it's not, not a huge deal here for them. Top winds 105 knots. Forecast actually to strengthen to 110 knots, 115 knots by 6Z on the 30th. So 2 a.m. Thursday morning. And then after that, it moves northeastward and starts to weaken a bit. But passing, it looks like the center is going to pass a good 60 or 70. I assume those are 1 degree longitude and latitude lines. I can see I can barely read them. You know what? The numbers are so small, and my glasses are just not that good. So I'm assuming that those are 1 degree latitude, longitude boxes. So that would suggest that the system is about 60 miles offshore.
Who knew that we would eventually get to the point where we'd actually need a magnifying glass to see
right?
things on our computer screen?
I know. It's frustrating, but it's also it's life. Anyhow, everybody, thanks for being here tonight. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, the home of salt and Pelledo and Mag Ice Pellets and Flakes and anything else you need to get through the winter. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town. OmniTrueValue.com is the website. And LI Holiday Lighting, wholesale holiday lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York. So if you want your home decorated for the holidays, or perhaps you want to do this as a business and decorate homes professionally, give them a call at 631-957-5106. The website is liholidaylighting.com. And if you're a contractor, you can RSVP for their holiday lighting open house a week from today, next Tuesday, October 5th, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So give them a call or check out the website for the latest information regarding their open house. So you and I will be back tomorrow night at the usual shopping time, 7:30 Eastern.
Absolutely. We will be right here, and we hope that all of you will be right there for yet another in the endlessly continuing series.
Oh, it's endless.
Joe and Joe. Endless.
It is endless.
Anyway, we'll be
here.
there.
I got wind of it. Good night, everybody.
Yes. Night.